Hello Lucy and welcome to your maths lesson for today. So just to your guided practice as usual and then we will complete our independent practice. But first of all we have our counting. So let's practice our 8 times table together and make sure you are counting along with me. 0 times 8 is 0, 1 times 8 is 8, 2 times 8 is 16, 3 times 8 is 24, 4 times 8 is 32, 5 times 8 is 40, 6 times 8 is 48, 7 times 8 is 56, 8 times 8 is 64, 9 times 8 is 72, 10 times 8 is 80, 11 times 8 is 88, and 12 times 8 is 96. Now let's add together the multiples. 0, 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, 56, 64, 72, 80, 88, 96. Now we've done our counting, let's move to our warm-up and our oral mental starter. So we've already looked at decimals on a number line, and so I'm hoping that you'll be able to quickly fill out this. I will help you with the very first one on A. So if this is 0 and at this side we have 1, in between these will be a tenth of 1. Okay, so this will be 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, and so on, because there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 equal parts that equal 1. Okay, so if this is 0.1, 0.2, what will this one be and what will this one be? And then thinking about B is exactly the same. The only thing that is different is that we've got a different starting number, different end number. Okay, so have a go at doing that in your head, and then let's move on to the next question and today's lesson. So today our learning objective is to write decimals. And our first question that we'll look at together is we're going to make the number represented on each of the place value charts. Complete the sentences to describe each number. Okay, so it's telling me there are something ones. So I go to my chart and I'm looking at the ones column. I'm not looking at the tenths and I'm not looking at the hundredths because I'm asking me how many ones there are. And I can see that there are 1, 2, 3. There are 3 ones. Then it's asking me how many tenths there are. There are 1, 2. I know that there are 2 because this is the tenths column in the place value chart. I have 2 tenths. Then it's asking me how many hundredths there are. So I go to the hundredths column. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 hundredths. So therefore, my decimal is 3 point, make that point a bit more bigger for you, 2, 5. So we've got the actual decimal. Here we've got it partitioned into the ones, the tenths and the hundredths, and here you've got the visual representation of what it looks like on a place value chart using counters. So there are 3 ones, decimal point, and then 2 tenths and 5 hundredths, which makes the decimal 3.25. Now looking at our independent practice, I like to look at these questions and do the exact same on your worksheet. Now the next question we are going to look at, I'll do one guided with you and then I'll expect you to do B, C and D independently on your worksheet. So make each number on a place value chart. Write the value of the underlined digit. Okay, so for A, we're looking at 6.31. Okay, and it's asking me to write the value of that underlined digit. Now the underlined digit is the 3, but it's not just 3, okay? It is 3 tenths. As you can see, there is the decimal point there, okay? So my 6 is in the ones column, and after that we know we have tenths and we have hundredths. So the actual value of 3 is 3/10. So difficult to write on here with your cursor. So there are 3/10. You could also show it like this. There we go. Now, I'd like you to look at B, C, and D. What is the value of the underlying digit? Good luck. Now, this is just discussion here for us. So, Alex says the number on the place value chart is 3.4. Do you agree with Alex? Now, here is a very important message for us that placeholders are very, very, very important. Okay, so I'm going to explain to you why this does not show 3.4, and I'm hoping that you're in agreement here. So I don't agree with Alex because, yes, I do have 3 ones, which I've just circled, but then after my decimal point, if Alex was to be correct, the 4 here is the place value of the tenths, and there are 0 counters in the tenths column. So actually, a placeholder would go there as part of my decimal. So if I have 3 and I have my decimal point there, because there are 0 tenths, I have to put a placeholder there. There are 0 tenths, because then I can see that there are 400ths and I can write that there. So do you see how Alex's number 3.4 is different to my number 3.04? He's forgotten to put a placeholder in the tenths column where there are no counters at all. So here it says placeholders are very, very, very important, and they are. Moving on. I would like you to fill in the zeros needed as placeholders for each number. So I'm going to show you guided practice for A and D. Now I've just spoken to you about the importance of placeholders and how they fill that place value column, especially when there is another digit following it in either the hundredths, or it might be that it is in the tens when I have hundreds but no tens, but then I have ones. So it's really important that I have that 0 there. Now with A, I can see that I need a placeholder in my tenths column because I have 3 tens, 2 ones, and then 4 hundredths. So if I was to write the decimal 32.4, that will show me that I have 4 tenths, and I actually don't have any tenths. So it's really important that I have that placeholder there. I'm just going around it just to put it in bold, so it's really important that I've got that there. Okay, with D then, again, I need to fill in the placeholders for each one. Now, I can see that I don't have any tens, and I don't have any ones. I do have 5 tenths, but I don't have any hundredths. So I could put placeholders in the tens, the ones, and the hundredths. Actually, I just need to put 0 into my ones column because I have 0 ones. If I have then my 0 ones there, I've got my decimal point there and then my 5 tenths. You may find that some people may have put the 0 in the hundredths column, but this still equals the same amount. 0.5 is still equal to 50 hundredths. Okay, now I would like you to do your independent practice, which is B, E, C, and F. Can you have a go at that, please? Putting in the placeholders, remembering how important they are in making the size of the number, whether it's going to be smaller or larger. Now, this is a guided practice discussion for us. So you've already looked at something similar. So I'm hoping that when you're looking at these, you think, oh, yes, I know what I need to do with this. So A, I have 0.2 and 0.09. And the first thing that I'm looking at is the fact that I have 2 parts, so I need to work out the whole. Okay. I don't have any ones in this number, and I don't have any ones in this number either. So actually, I have 0 ones still, and then I'll just pop my decimal point after that, and then I'll be looking at my tenths column. Okay, I have 2 tenths here. From this part, I don't have any tenths. So 2 add 0 is 2. So I have 2 tenths in total. I don't have any hundredths in this number, but I do have hundredths in this part of the number. I have 9 hundredths. So I have, it would be pretty much 0 there. 0 and 9 is 9. So my whole for the 2 parts 0.2 add 0.09 is 0.29. Now we're going to look at C. This one is a bit more tricky because it's partitioned our tenths column into 2 separate parts. You can see that we don't have any ones and we don't have any ones in the whole, and I've been asked to find the missing part. You see, before we had 2 parts and I had to find the whole. Here I already have the whole, okay, and I have a part, so I need to work out this missing part. Now I don't have any ones, we've established that in the whole, so I don't need to think about what is in my ones column. But I do also need to make sure that I'm considering that really important placeholder when I'm writing my next decimal. Now in my tenths, I've already got 4 tenths, but in my whole, there's 5 tenths. So I need to work out the difference between 4 and 5. So I know that 4, and then the next number is 5, so there's only a difference of 1. So there's only 1/10 difference. I'm going to pop that into my decimal for that extra part. Now here I don't have any hundredths to consider to see the difference between 0.4 and 0.53. So actually the only hundredths that I have to think about are the 3 hundredths that are in my whole. So actually what I need to add to 0.4 is 0.13, and that gives me the total of 0.53. Now here is B. Now this one is different because I have 3 parts. Okay, here in A and C I had 2 separate parts, and we'd seen also in C that the numbers can be partitioned and split even further. But B, here I have 0.3, so I have 3 tenths. I also have 0.07. Here I have 7 hundredths, and I also have the part 0.1. Now then, to get my whole, I must add all of these parts together. Now my top tip for us in this discussion is to always try and add the same values first. So I'm going to see if I've got any ones. I don't have any ones there, I don't have any ones there, and I don't have any ones there. So I have 0 ones, and then I must always put my decimal point because what follows, yes, my tenths and hundredths. Now, I know that I have 3 tenths in my first part. I don't have any tenths in 0.07, but I do have tenths, and I have 1 tenth in 0.1. So what is 3 add 1? Correct, I have 4. So 3 tenths add 1 tenth is 4 tenths. So there's my 4 tenths. Now go back to my number again. I don't have any hundredths. I do have hundredths either. I have 7 hundredths. So I'm going to keep that in my head. I don't have any hundredths here. So actually the only hundredths that I have is 7. So I have 7 hundredths there. Now, looking at this very last one, this is again the same as B, with it being 3 parts and 1 whole. But the difference with B is that I already have my whole, but I have a part and a missing part, which I don't know what it will be until I look at what my existing parts are and what my whole is. So my whole is 0.81 and I have the parts 0.4 and 0.28. Now, I need my tenths to add up to 8. Do I need anything for my ones looking at those parts that I've already got and my whole? No, you're correct. Good. I don't need any parts because my whole doesn't have any ones. So I've dealt with my ones column. Now looking at my tenths column, looking at the parts I already have, I have 4 tenths, so 4, and I have 2 tenths. So 4 add 2 equals, what does it equal? Yes, 6. So I have 6 tenths, but my whole says I need 8 tenths. So I need to be working out the difference between 8 and 6. So 8 subtract 6 will give me the answer of 2. Well done. So I actually need 2 tenths because I don't, choose me, I know 6 add 2 equals 8. Now looking at the hundredths column, I have 1 hundredth. And here I have 8 hundredths. So I wonder what the missing part will be. Have a think. Pause the video now and have a think. So actually here, Lucy, now you've had a think. Have I made an error? Have I made a mistake? You could think, Miss Clarkson, actually, this shouldn't be 2. If we were to subtract 0.28 away from 0.81, I'd have to exchange, which would give me 0.53. And because I already have my 0.4 there, actually my missing part would actually be 0.13. Again, with some guided discussion, Ava has asked how to show 10 tenths on a place value chart. Here is their answer. Is Ava correct? So, 10 tenths. Let us just think about what we already know about counters making 10. So we know that 10 lots of 1 equals 10. And we know that 10 lots of 10 equals, you're correct, 100. And so building off that knowledge, if I have 10 tenths, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, should I be able to exchange these 10 counters for something? Do you think it will be ones or do you think it could be hundreds? Now, if I had 10 lots of 1 pennies, I would exchange it for 1 10p. So thinking about that, I could exchange these 10 lots of tenths for ones counter. Again here, if I had 10 lots of 10p, I could exchange it for £1. So remembering that if I have 10 counters in a column, I will always be able to exchange it for 1 counter in the next column to the left. Well done for completing your guided practice and your independent practice today, Lucy.